Tonight, an American Christian pastor is in prison.
Jailed in one of Iran's most notorious prisons.
And his crime? His faith.
The NSA whistleblower, Edward Snowden, is now basically missing.
Could the justices use the appeal to address broader constitutional questions as well?
The American Center for Law and Justice is alleging that the FBI is not aggressively investigating the IRS. Joining us now from Washington, Jordan Sekulow.
There are plenty of legal questions, so here to explain how all of this is going to play out is friend of the program, Jordan Sekulow.
What about that filing of the crime report? Jordan Sekulow certainly doesn't trust the government. He represents several of the groups suing the IRS.
Joining me now to explain what all of this means are from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. For more on the Benghazi attack, we turn now to Jordan Sekulow.
Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director of the American Center for Law and Justice.
Yeah, let's bring in Jordan Sekulow.
To Jordan Sekulow.
With us now, Jordan Sekulow.
Jordan, let me begin with you, because every time you think that you've heard the worst of the worst from Eric Holder, he says or does something even more outrageous.
Talk to me a little bit, Jordan, about what you've learned about the recent movement of prisoners at Evan and how it applies to your client.
He's considered a political prisoner even though he's there because of his faith, because they see Christianity as a political threat to the regime. Well, this was the perfect storm for the IRS, though. That's what they try to do always. They either try to get you to not reply so that you just stop your application. You've got to commit 3 separate misdemeanors on 3 separate dates to qualify for that rule. I mean, that's how far they go to bring more people in. Well, let me say, Sean, I mean, first of all, we just won one of these cases actually just moments before coming on the air out of the 7th Circuit. So we're 3 for 3 at the Circuit Court of Appeals on getting these injunctions for not religious organizations but private companies like Hobby Lobby. This is not Arizona determining naturalization rules for the country, nor is it Arizona deporting anyone on their own. The federal government, with our taxpayer dollars, is now paying for abortions for low-income households, and it's the federal government for the first time forced people to buy something from private companies. States are going to have to pay more into Medicare, more into Medicaid. People are upset about this. There is a disconnect between what's happening in these cities and what's happening here in Washington, D.C. And we actually represent Tim Brown, who was one of 3 firefighters who survived.
Let's try this question from Jordan. We'll make our 5th attempt, our final attempt. Do you think Hamas is a terrorist organization?
That is not up to me, sir.
Yeah. This is why we're so concerned about these projects right there. We're directly involved with the ACLJ in these hearings. This imam's called the United States an accessory to the 9/11 attacks, say that we are responsible for creating Osama bin Laden. The OIC is not done here. It's a dangerous group, and its impact at the United Nations is second only to the UN itself. The good news is Supreme Court precedent is actually on the side of the cross. Just because of the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment, we don't have to eradicate our Judeo-Christian heritage in the United States of America. The United States has the highest corporate tax in the developed world. Guess what? Those companies are going to keep moving overseas so long as it's legal, and today it is. For those of us who have been fighting for this cross, which has been in controversy since 1989, there's been a cross on that spot since 1913. The ACLU has been trying to take this down for 21 years, but I think this is still a strategy, a larger strategy by liberals to try to scare American people from joining up with this movement and taking a stand. Liberals are totally misapplying. I think we've gotten to this point now in America where if a liberal is nice, we think, oh wow, this person's now moderate. Why is that even a debate that Democrats have to have with us? Who cares about that? I'm glad the ACLU isn't going to start suing private individuals. That's nice to know.
At least we know the problem.
We do know the problem. The ACLU is nowhere to be found, but that's okay because the American Center for Law and Justice is here.